Why, hello there, beautiful people. Yes, we are finally back with Spilled Kool-Aid. I am your boy, Nelson Bullock, aka Kaz, and this is a very special episode of Spilled Kool-Aid because this is a scouting episode, kind of. This is basically, we're talking about the scouting. We're going to talk about the CFP for this year's NCAA and the FGFL. So, if you're gonna watch, if this is like the only episode you're watching of the FGFL or of like the Koolaid podcast, then you picked the right episode to watch because we obviously have the two people who are working on the draft class. We have Mr. Adrenaline in his soul himself, the Motor City Nightmare, the quarterback for the Detroit Lions, Mr. Cody Hayner, aka Ice Pick. What up, Ice?
Not much, just ready to talk some draft class stuff.
Yes, sir. And of course, we have the dude, man, the myth, the legend, Mish, coach of the Giants, brother franchise himself, FG. What's good, FG?
What's up? What's up? Who's ready for some draft secrets?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, if y'all are going to watch just like one episode and be done with the podcast, this is the episode you want to watch. I'm sure there are some people who just ain't going to watch it, and that's they lost, but yeah, basically we're going to talk, I'm kind of going to pick FG's brain and Ice Pick's brain about the draft class and whatnot, see how we did as far as scouting went, and just talk some CFP as well, because I might be incorrect when I assume CFP starts this week and actually tonight, right?
Correct.
All right.
P baby.
So, guess if anybody's expecting me to ask any like specific questions on players, because that's gonna give away some of my hand if I ask about certain people. But I guess the first question that I have is, how do you, FG, feel about how we did with the scouting with like this? Because obviously this year the scouting was so much different. Like, whereas like we actually got the games, we got a lot more games like early in the in the regular season for the FGFL, and we got a lot. And when I say a lot of scouting opportunities. Like, how do you feel like we did as a league here? Obviously, there were some people who did scouting. There's always gonna be people who don't do scouting, but you know.
So I did like a count yesterday, and it seemed like there were at least like 26, 27 people who did something.
Yeah.
Which, considering that I don't count, as a coach, that's not bad if you take that out of 31. But then again, there was a good 3 folks who did like 4 scouting opportunities or less out of the 30 something that there were. So that isn't great, because to me that really doesn't count all that much. There were people in my DMs that didn't know how to do scouting, which is even more of a complete oversight on people. Like, if you don't know how to do scouting when there's literally 10 scouting VODs up, maybe you should start there. And there's probably questions throughout there that you can put players in my DMs for information on, not a list of 24 players as a whole, and just say, this is my scouting. No, it isn't.
I mean, to my knowledge, we haven't done that. Like, we did that year 1, but it's like we didn't even really do that like that last year. So it's like, I feel like that just shows people aren't paying attention.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, but all in all, it seems like, most people did something. It just, in my opinion, if I was grading scouting this year, I would say that way too many people decided to last minute the fuck out of it. And I don't mean people that was sending me things all this past week. I mean people that sent in shit yesterday, hours before the deadline. And people that were like, "Oh, I'm just gonna crunch the shit out of this and get half of it done." Yes, I will name names. I am talking to Clover. I am talking to Crack, who just sent me like a list of 30 things at 5:30 p.m. I am talking to Todd, who noticed that I gave him like the 4 or whatever opportunities that he had done live, and then decided, oh, well, let me see if I can crunch like 3 more streams in before the deadline is up. Like, that's probably not the way to get it done, because people who did it like that, CJ, ended up doubling up things. Like, there were 2 separate opportunities that said, to give me a player for their year by year player stats. There were
Yep.
2 separate opportunities for that. And one was earlier and one was later in the college season. And CJ put the same person for both.
I did that last year.
And he literally did all his opportunities yesterday, though. Like, it's one thing
Yeah.
if you forgot who you had put in earlier in the scouting season, because I think one was opportunity 4 and one was opportunity 24.
Yeah.
So if you had forgotten what you put in an opportunity 4 and put it in 24 way later, but CJ did them all yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, if you're doing that, that means you're probably rushing it. That means you're probably like, you're putting too much pressure on yourself, and you should have probably done it the Hobie way. Or, I forget who else did it. You were doing it like that for a while, where you were kind of keeping up with the streams as they were happening.
Mm.
And that's probably the best way to do it. Like, there was only 2 scouting streams a week.
Yeah.
If people had gotten them rewatched over the weekend, or skimmed them over the weekend to get their opportunities, they would be more well caught up than trying to skim 10 scouting streams in a week.
Yeah. That's rough.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm just saying there are better ways. However, I would like to take the time to make a little bit of announcement that scouting is probably going to change yet again, but we're probably going to do it this way. We're going to do it this way next year. It's just, I don't think I'm going to do as many scouting streams, as many opportunities as I did this year, because, like I said, with way too many people crunching, I feel like people have the mindset of, this is hard work, or this is like busy work, or this is like, I don't really wanna. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if that's how people are feeling, then it's going to end up getting to the point down the line where people wonder why I stop certain FGFLs. It's because the interaction is not there. This is why I stop things. So right now, I think I'm gonna slow it down. We might do about half of the scouting that we did, maybe like 5 scouting streams before the CFP might make more sense.
Yeah.
Or maybe we will do 10 scouting streams. They will just all have like 2 games in them. They'll be shorter so that people could show up if they wanted to. But right now, it just seems we're at this point where people are slowing down on actually doing scouting, which is not going to make the process as fun. And Ice Pick gave me an idea yesterday of that we could solely do scouting streams in Madden. Have like a mini season of all created teams playing against each other, with the scouting prospects in there. And it would just be like, right now, I think is a far more interactive way to do it, where like I'm scouting with the coaches and I'm also changing ratings based on what we've seen at the NCAA level, which I think is really cool. But if people are not going to take part in that, then it's way easier for me to keep this thing going throughout the summer and into the next football season if I did it the way Ice Pick suggested, where I can pretty much just simulate an entire college year, come up with the stats for every player, and transfer over the draft class, and then put it into this like little mini season of created teams, relocated quote unquote teams that are all 4 of them in the same division. So we see 4 teams play each other twice. And that would be our scouting, and then just give little tidbits out about players and what their stats were and maybe awards or certain good games that they had in those streams. That could help with discovering what their ratings are. You see how they're going to play in Madden. I think that might be part of why people don't come to the scouting streams as much, because they don't see how the guys actually are going to play. They just see what they did in college. So, I mean, if you're listening to this, comment on that in the hype room. Let me know what y'all think, because I'm trying to do it where everybody's happy with it, where like they feel like they're getting value out of the scouting while also, not breaking my back for zero reason if people aren't going to do it.
Right.
Yeah, it's basically what I proposed was just an expanded version of the scouting games that we do at the end of the seasons. Or technically,
Yeah.
we're starting
So
next Wednesday with it.
all
This
in
class.
all, I give the league as a whole a C plus on scouting.
Plus, roger that. That makes sense. I mean, I definitely, I think I kind of just fell behind just because me getting back into really taking content creation seriously took away a lot of my time. So I'm just like, it's like I work weekends, so it's like I don't really get to like watch them as much as I really want to, especially Mondays, because like Monday's like my one bartending shift. But that's just me personally, though.
Kaz, to be real with you, I mean, you missed like 2 scouting opportunities, bro.
Yeah,
literally 2.
I
Like
figured.
you were 2 points away from max scouting points at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously there's still going to be things going on for CFP. So if you sucked ass at regular season scouting, you still got a shot.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it ain't over for you.
Mm-hmm.
But what's going to end up happening here is that we have the regular season scouting. People are going to get points from it. People are going to get points from the college football playoff scouting. People got points from winning bets.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of points out there. Like, some people are going to know more than other people, and it's because they deserve to. That's
Exactly.
it. Simple.
Exactly.
So if you didn't do the job in the regular season, have no fear. You have a few college football playoff streams to get right with it.
And we still got the scouting stream. Well, and it's like I like the scouting games idea because, to be honest, that's where I found a few of the guys that I ended up drafting this past draft. I mean, obviously with a lot of ice picks guys, you're not gonna know what they like anything about them until they actually like play in those scouting games. To be honest, that's where I found her a lot at. So it's like, the scouting games, obviously the CFP is important as well, but it's like, I would say definitely pay attention to people in the scouting games if you're watching this. My personal opinion on as far as we just like do like a season or whatever, I'd be down for that. Like, I still feel like there's value to be taken from like the college football stuff, or from like the NCAA stuff though. And I feel like if it's one of those things where you personally don't feel like it's worth it, then I would say just do the scouting, like just like put them in Madden and whatnot and do the scouting that way. But I personally like don't have an issue with it. If you wanted to bump it down to 2 games, I still think I got even with me missing 2 scouting opportunities, I still feel like I got a lot of information. So, and it's like a lot more information than I feel like we've gotten in PSC, all the scouting opportunities. So, if you were to cut it back to like 2 games per stream, I don't think anybody would have like a huge. That's just my personal opinion.
I mean, that's fair. I think the other thing that is definitely possible is even if we did like a mini season, like I'm talking about with scouting games, that, it's not out of the realm of possibility that, I could at least record the CFP. You know what I mean? And at least have that as like a little extra NCAA scouting, because that would only take like 3 streams, you know? So
that'd be quick. Then you have more time to like do other things outside of like the FGFL. You're like actually settled in, whatnot. You can start doing like show stuff, because I know you enjoy like streaming the show.
Yeah, MLB The Show is going to be very heavy. I've got, the thing on the main channel, Mets franchise. I've got the thing on a brand new channel that I barely told anybody about, going on, which is almost at 200 subscribers already. First video's like almost 600 views. And of course, I want to stream the show, and I'm also planning on helping other people with show content if that comes to fruition. So, um, show season's going to be busy, but again, this is like, you know, chilling at night. I think what's going to end up happening, once the show gets into full swing, is it's not where I want to stop or slow down the FGFL. It's more so we just probably won't have 4 5 hour streams at night.
Yeah.
Like we won't be watching 3 games. We might watch 2 and call it quits from there, or do a witching hour because those are way quicker, um, and I know like people don't want witching hours all year, but I feel like a lot of people love the witching hour. Every time it's up there, it wins. So
I'd be cool like doing, obviously like week, and then like because I feel like us doing the witching hour week 1, great idea. Then us doing like the last 2 weeks witching hour, and then maybe like 2 mid-season would be great. But it's like even if we did witching hours every week, I don't think that, or like every other week.
I think it's a great opportunity to like see teams that you probably wouldn't at all see,
Right.
like, and even on a chance on a week to week basis if they happen to come close to getting an upset or something. But I understand the people that don't like it. The more hardcore FGFLers are like, well, it's different from straight sim to super sim to watched, like, and there's a chance that you get like, you're getting 2 within one stream because you got to deal with the super sim and the watched, if it comes down to it, or rather than just straight sim. So it's like 3 different kinds of things. But I would always argue that that's FGFL. Like,
Exactly.
if your team's not built to win in all 3 facets, then your team's not built to win. That's just what it is.
Exactly.
Like, and yeah, some fucky things happen, but you ever watch the NFL?
Right.
Things happen. Like,
That's for damn sure. So my next question is actually more geared for the draft, and obviously I'm like, for those of you guys who are watching, I'm not gonna ask too many questions that like, too many specific questions on specific players, because that's gonna give like, naturally that might give away some of what I'm doing in the draft. But I guess my first question would be is, what position do you feel like got scouted the most out of like all the positions, like offense, defense, even special teams? Like, what did you see that people like? What trend did you really see as far as position goes? Like, without giving too much.
I mean, I feel like it's a pretty typical scouting session. You get a lot of people scouting quarterbacks, a lot of people scouting edge rush, and a ton of wide receiver. Like, obviously there's outliers to that. Like, depending on what people's needs were. Like, there were some people who scouted O line, O line, O line, O line, O line. Like, I just want all the O line. And some people scouted all running back stuff. Like, they really want a running back. But I feel like the thing that popped up a lot is wide receivers, quarterbacks. That's always going to pop up.
Yeah.
And defensive ends, even more so than outside linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there are quite a few teams who are looking for quarterbacks this year. Receiver is just so deep. Like, you're all like, everybody's always going to look for like the diamonds in the rough as far as receiver goes too. Especially when you have 46 I believe, in 6, and like QBs, we have 24 of them. Definitely.
Yeah, I feel like we're always gonna have a lot of quarterbacks just because any write up that gets done, any game that gets watched, there's always a quarterback. Like, whether they're good or not is a different story, but there's always a quarterback, and there's always potential for that quarterback to have good season stats because they touch the ball all the fucking time.
Right.
So, like, the quarterback of every team. because like whether it's in a write up or a watch game, you saw this guy play or he was in the write up because you have to put the quarterback stats, whether they were good or bad. So it's always there's always going to be name recognition when it comes to quarterback because people would have seen their name somewhere. For instance, like Mizzou quarterback Sean Artist is a guy like we've seen him pop up in write-ups. We've seen him in watch games. Like whether you think he's good or not is completely different. But we've seen him over the years. So, and some of the lower tier quarterbacks, good names help get them in the draft.
Right.
But all in all, no quarterback that's having negative touchdown interception ratio is going to make their way into a draft class because we just know way too many of them.
Yeah. And it's like in NCAA sim, even like whether it's like base game or it's revamp, most of the time you're gonna find like even mid tier quarterbacks having like more touchdowns than picks on a regular basis. That's just how college football is. Like, you're never really gonna have any even high. I mean, there might be a few high overall guys like in NCAA, but it's like some of them might end up having like more picks than touchdowns in like a rare occasion, but usually the NCAA 14 does a pretty good job of that. But
yeah, I think that's part of the weirdest hard thing about making a draft class, and that's not even just with the quarterback position, but it's like some of the higher overall guys just don't have good numbers.
Yep.
And not so much like they don't have good numbers, but they don't have better numbers than guys that are 82.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I got 95s that aren't putting up stats that 82s are putting up. So like that's where you get like I feel like those 95 overall guys are athletic and good at what they do. But the game's not showing that. And so the 82 overall guy is the guy that's smart, the guy that has the awareness, the play rec, something like that. And he's not entirely athletic. He's just in the right place at the right time. He knows where to be. He's smart about it. When it doesn't matter what position you're talking about, obviously that applies more towards defense. But even, you can apply it to wide receivers, some of the guys that have come out, some of the slower dudes that people have not wanted to draft. Just have better wits about them, better route running, whatever it happens to be that gets them open.
Yep.
And makes them, perform. That's the hard part about making the class because you look at, I look at the rosters before each NCAA season. I'm like, this guy should do good. This guy should do good. And then they don't show up on the stats. And I'm like, where is this motherfucker? He's supposed to be good. And I've definitely not had people that were 94s come out into a draft class because they just didn't perform. So what I normally do in that situation is knock that motherfucker from a 94 to a 74 so that he doesn't get in the draft.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what a lot of the work is doctoring things so that the right people show up in the converter.
Right.
That's a lot of the work.
Yeah, like NCAA 14 is so strange with how like I've even seen it like with like draft classes and like previous dynasties I've done. It's like this dude's like a 99 overall, but it's like his stats don't reflect that. We have like an 82 Heisman trophy. I didn't even get in the draft class.
What's up, Art Henry? I mean,
Henry.
I don't know why do you Art Henry, fun fact, was a 78 overall in NCAA. So like it's hard because his 78 overall was stemming from a lot of the fact that like he had a mini arm.
Yeah. They punished like low throw power in that game.
He had weird athleticism. A 78 throw power. So like when you port that over, it's not going to look great. It's hard to get the guy to be a high overall in Madden. So of course he had to get that superstar because Mr. 1 Year Wonder Art Henry winning a Heisman, stealing it from people who were playing just as good as him, to be honest with you, but weren't getting it. And I'm just like, huh? How do you steal this from Chris Bonds? I don't know how you do that, but okay. So Art Henry becomes what Art Henry is.
Yep.
You know, a Project Heisman winner. We've had those in the past. You know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, I know I'm not playing him like this Saints, but
Alpo's very pissed at you about that, by the way.
Why the hell is he pissed at me? Hey, Alpo, trade for him in the off season.
No. He needs the Saints to lose because he has Saints pick. So he's mad that you
stop sleeping on Demetrius Wade. Then that's my stop sleeping on Wade. Then Wade about to go crazy. Watch. I mean, Alpo, I don't know what
he does for your sake.
Wait, so
cool
my thing is, you're saying it's a draft thing that he's upset about though, or
well, because you're playing the Saints.
Yeah,
he has Saints pick.
Alpo, you have like 4 firsts. Shut your ass up.
He wants Saints lose game. You play Saints. You must beat Saints. He wants
Alpo,
you to play best players.
You have 4 first-round picks. If the Saints win 1 game, you'll be okay. Stop playing. Stop acting like you're not like a freaking you're not like on like Elmy levels of like scouting degeneracy, but it's like you're pretty good at finding players who are really good, Alpo. So I don't know why you're mad.
You may not be a scouting degenerate, but he is the trading degenerate.
Yes, he is a trading degenerate.
He's a little bit of a scouting degenerate. He's just a quiet scouting.
Yeah, he's just not as like mask off about
his own horn for sure and suck his own dick about it.
Pretty much. Alpo's much more modest about it.
Hell, I will say was doing that shit yesterday. He was like, "I am more excited for the draft and my scouting this year than I am about being 10-1." And that's why in BC last night I was like, Alpo, you gotta say something, put some sort of cryptic ass pull bomb that will knock Elmy down a peg, because this man is way too overconfident about himself right now.
Saying.
And it's funny because Alpo turns around and goes, my scouting. I was like, yeah, I do. I know. I understand. It's like, Elmy thinks he's the only one. He's not the only one. He's just the loudest one.
Right. Alpo and Elmy basically in arms race at this point, because Elmy can pretty. That's why it's like I don't really care about winning any more games. Like people are on this shit where it's just like, oh, we don't want Elmy getting the top 5 pick. It don't fucking matter. 2 words, Terrence Parms. Who the fuck else went after that man? Nobody. Elmy did, and he got him like late first round, to the point he felt good enough to trade the last pick of the first. It's like, it doesn't, with Elmers, even with Alpo, really don't fucking matter. They could be picking at 32. They'll find the person they want to get.
I'll say this, though. I asked this question to the VC yesterday, and I said, why do y'all think Alpo does a better job than a lot of people at this? And obviously they give the smart-ass answers of like, because he's got 1 million picks and, stuff like that. It's like, I mean, yeah, it helps to have a lot of picks. But there's also reasons why he has a lot of picks. And it's not usually because he's trading all of his good players away.
Yeah.
Reasons why, one reason why he has a lot of picks is because if he doesn't like anything at a certain pick, he trades that shit.
Yep.
And amasses more picks.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that he does do well is that there's no player that he's not willing to scout if he needs to.
Yeah.
When the scouting begins, he obviously has his criteria of trying to scout the guys that are fucking athletic. Because if you could get a really good athletic guy and a really good non-athletic guy, which one would you prefer? The really good athletic guy.
Exactly.
Right? So he's going to start there. And then when he finds out, that some guy's playing really well, even though he doesn't seem to be athletic, he does scout him, regardless of if he wants him or not, because he needs to find out exactly how good this guy is.
Exactly.
And the thing about Alpo is that no player on the board is unattainable. And he has that mindset that if I want someone, I can find a way to get him. And there are way too many people in this league that don't think like that.
Yeah.
I don't have a first, so I can't get anybody in the first round. Who said?
Did they not see what Lance did last year?
Off season. We have an entire off season of signing free agents, making trades, doing re-signings and all that shit where, something may happen. Somebody may lose a player in re-signings that they didn't want to lose because the player just didn't sign with them. And then in free agency, they don't get him back, and now they're desperate for, I don't know, throw a random position, a D tackle, and you happen to have a D tackle who is pretty good, but might be like old, and you may be willing to give that guy if they're going to give you a first round pick. And then guess what? Now you're picking in the first round.
Yep.
You don't know what's going to happen in the offseason. Yeah, you want to kind of scout around picks that you have, of course. You want to scout some of those later guys if you have a bunch of later picks, but you can't sit there and be like, oh, it's impossible for me to do something. It's not impossible. If you find a guy, if you see a guy you really like, if that guy is absolutely to a T, fits everything you want to do, if he is, I use it a lot, if he is quote unquote your guy, you got to fucking find a way to get your guy.
Mm-hmm. There are people who trade these picks like bottle caps anyway. So it's just to get more.
It's an off-season specialty, man.
Exactly. I mean, even in the draft, Alpo traded Lance the farm to get Colin Coates. And it's like Lance had no picks coming into that draft, and he ended up with a bunch of picks. He ended up getting a bunch of really good selections last year with the picks he ended up getting from Alpo, and the picks he ended up getting in the trade with the Giants as well. But sometimes you just gotta yeet to win. Sometimes you just gotta throw things out there.
Thing. With all of this scouting that we had, and now, because I've seen what people have done, this is the most scouting people are ever going to get. It's hard for me when I see that I've given 34 scouting opportunities or whatever it is, and people had an opportunity to know the most about a draft class that they've ever known about a draft class, and it doesn't matter if you're scouting people that you know are good, know are not good, may or may not be good, think you can get, think you can't get. Literally, it doesn't matter. Because you can get anybody in an off season if you're willing to do the work to get them. It's it saddens me the mindset that some people have. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I feel you. I definitely feel. With that being said, I had another question. It's the draft class goes, but were there any positions this is kind of antithesis to my previous question, But there any positions that you're surprised that people really weren't like going after? Like not a lot of people after like in this class. Like it can be multiple positions, but like just a position more or less that you feel like there are like solid players that can help somebody that people.
Um, it's hard because I feel like there was a good amount of scouting at a lot of positions. I don't know that there was the right scouting at certain positions. We'll take for instance, this I will absolutely give away. So at the position of defensive tackle, obviously, I mean, if you're looking at that list, you could probably tell me who the top scouted people were without even knowing what people scouted.
Yep.
Like one of them is based off user player, one of them is based off pure name alone.
Yeah, I know the two players you're talking about.
Exactly.
I mean,
And there was a lot of under scouting outside of that.
Yeah, I scouted one of the people that you mentioned. I'm not gonna. I mean, I don't know. I mean, at this point, it's pretty obvious who the two players you're talking about are. But
I mean, it should be obvious, And then another one. I feel like tight end was highly under scouted.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And I don't know if that's for better or worse. Like it's tight end. Most people, a lot of people now try to do the whole "let me move a wide receiver to tight end" thing. But if it was possible to get a really good tight end, why not get a really good tight end? But people don't look at it that way. Tight end's almost useless in this league the way people use wide receivers at the position. But it there may or may not be quality value there for the league, but it was definitely an under-scouted spot. There were very, very few people who were scouting anything on tight ends. Running back, very, very weird. There's one person, maybe a couple of people who were scouting running backs heavy, and then there was like, the scouting of running backs in between there were really just like a couple of names that were popping up.
And then people want to get mad at me when I trade my young running backs away. It's like then y'all don't want to scout like the running backs we have here.
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you, I feel like the most value right now that could be had late in rounds is probably going to end up being at the running backs and tight end positions.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like everybody's kind of hyper focused on sexy positions. And so and I'm not even going to say that people are perfect when they're scouting the sexy positions either. I mean, there's obviously availability at all the sexy positions to pick a really good player, and obviously a lot of the players that people kind of seem to have high are in general the right ones, but of course there's people focusing at those positions on people that probably aren't the guy.
Yeah.
But they can do what they need to do, you know what I'm saying? I would say that the position that took the position group that took the biggest climb that I really didn't expect from what we've watched is the DB group. I did not expect this to be a very good DB class. I was not planning on it being a very good DB class. I will say that there isn't a single corner who had more than 5 picks on the season. So, when the number one DB in the class as far as stats had 7 interceptions, that's not like, crazy. The
it's not like
deflections,
wow.
our deflection high was like 13, 15, something like that. So like it wasn't a crazy DB year. In my opinion, I think the guy that won the Thorpe Award was like, to me, pretty underwhelming. I think the guy that won the Thorpe Award had Um, oh no, the guy that won the Thorpe Award for this year isn't even in the class. So it's
Well,
gonna be another
damn.
guy people are waiting for. But there is one Thorpe winner at DB in this class, and I think Alpo knows who that is. But it was a couple of years ago that he
Yeah.
won it, and when he won it, he had slightly better stats than he had this season, but it wasn't a crazy amount better.
But it was still better than like everybody else.
I guess so, but that's what I'm saying. Like the DBs this year just don't seem OP. But then when we watched it, some guys made some crazy plays that got them thrown up there. And that is both. I know that Alpo asked me this question and I gave him the answer. So I'd like everyone who's paying attention to get this answer too, because I do think it was a good question. He wanted to know the weight that I was putting in on what we've seen versus what I might have put in prospect info. And what I will give away is the same thing I gave to him, which is if you see an upcoming prospect info recaps of games, and they have the year of the player in parentheses next to the stats, those are games that I took directly from what I had recorded. So I weighted them a lot more than the other games that are shown in upcoming prospect info, which are literally the ones from the scouting where I said that people would get a game in upcoming prospect info. And the reason why they don't have the years next to them is because the goddamn box score in the video game doesn't have the year next to them. So I wasn't going to go around and search for it.
Right.
So it is a clear difference as to which one is from which. And so if the game was recorded, it counts to me as a watch game, even though we didn't watch together that game.
Yeah.
Because we weren't going to watch fucking 100 games in a season. So I still put the recap up and it still counts to me what that player did when I put an entire write up on a game. That still counts. I didn't do that work for zero reason. I did that work so that people would read it.
Yeah, exactly.
So if guys balled out there, I would pay attention. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Because obviously the ups and downs of the class happened, and there's some people that I just flat out changed my mind on too. There's some people that it's no secret, the way I've been making these draft classes, that the more information you know about somebody, the better off you're going to be as far as their entire careers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no secret that the guys that have a chance of better dev, in my opinion, what dev is a potential. Is this guy going to learn quick? Is he going to climb fast? Or is he kind of as good as we know we've seen him that he's going to be? You know what I mean? Like, is this have we seen the best football out of this guy or not? And there's some players that have been kicking ass since they were a freshman. And, maybe their production dipped slightly. Maybe it barely raised, because it's hard to raise production when you burst onto the scene with 10 plus, sacks or 30 plus touchdowns as a freshman. Like what are you supposed to do from there? You know what I mean? So how will I represent somebody like that?
It makes sense.
When you're looking to represent a guy who's had, I don't know, let's just take a number of, let's just use solo tackles. Let's say we were using that. And the guy started his, sophomore year was his first starting season and he had 50 solo tackles. And then his next year, he had 48 solo tackles. And his next year, he had 49 solo tackles. To me, that's super consistent. It's great. You know, like we haven't seen anybody coming out with that many solo tackles very often.
Right.
You're basically talking about a guy who's top 5 in solo tackles every single year. So to me, what does that mean? That means he's a high overall, low dev guy because he is what he is. He's a good player, a very good player. But how much better is he going to get? Because he hasn't been getting better. He's just been very good. That's all. So I want people to kind of have that mindset because I know that the better scouters do. And I'm trying to help out the not as good scouters.
Right.
To think. You have to think. This is a gigantic puzzle. And it should be fun trying to figure it out. And that is why Elmer's is the scouting degenerate. Because this is fun for him. This is a giant Sudoku puzzle. And he wants to know, okay, what were this guy's stats this year? And he keeps them. He may not be drafting him for two seasons, but he knows what this guy did as a sophomore. Right. You know, and he keeps it in a spreadsheet. And some people may see the information. They may write it on a piece of paper that, you know, maybe they wiped the cum off of their dick with it and threw it out, you know, like, and now they don't have it anymore, you know, or maybe they, you know, saw it, tried to keep it in the memory banks. It's just not there, you know, like keep it somewhere safe. The information that is given for a reason. It's for you to be able to fill in pieces of the puzzle. And some guys come out of fucking nowhere, even to me. You know, there are guys in this draft class who have had next to nothing for numbers for the last 2 seasons. I mean, there's a guy I'm looking at right now. I won't give the stat or the position, but he had 2 of them in his first season playing. Then he went to 4. And this year had 25.
Jeez.
That's a guy that's coming out of nowhere. Like, I don't know where you came from, but welcome to the party, you know?
Depending on what that says, that is a
I mean, yeah. I mean, and by the same token, the second stat, he had 0, 2, and 33. You know, like some guys are going to come out of nowhere, even to me. I haven't been paying attention to this guy. Why? Because he had no stats. He was nobody. And now he's somebody. And he's worth paying attention to. And so obviously that's a guy that, depending on the numbers that he put up this year, would affect what his starting overall is. But the potential is clearly there if he can come out of fucking nowhere. You know, I don't think we've seen his best football. We may not have. So those are question marks. You know, there's definitely guys who have done this. And so the more you know about somebody, their year-to-year stats, those year-by-year stats, like, that's why I say CJ Duka the fuck out of it, because my man put in the same fucking person for both year-by-year stats. And it's like, you could have had 2 different dudes. And those are actually important.
Right.
Like, people may not think they're important, but it helps with the puzzle.
With the 2 players that I got from those, it was very important. Very fucking.
You get to see, did this guy come out of fucking nowhere, or has he always been good? Like, and it affects how I'm rating a guy. And the other thing that was extremely valuable, that a lot of people did do, like, obviously there were certain opportunities that got skipped for better opportunities for the guys that were running out of time. Yeah. But one that a lot of people did do is giving me a player to get my thought process on rating them, which is very important. Because it's basically what I just gave you with some hypothetical guy, except like with an actual guy, you know, like, you know, you will find out more things about the guy with that one than just the year-by-year stats. Because the reason may be part of the year-by-year stats, but also because we saw him do this, and because of this and this. Like, you know, there's certain players where it's like, okay, well, here's my thought process on rating the guy. He had, let's just pick out like a corner, random ass corner. He had 3 picks to 5 picks to 7 picks, let's just say. So constant uptick in production, which is going to mean that obviously he's getting better and better and better. So how much better can he get? I think he can continue to get better at the next level. So that might increase his dev, you know, like think about it that way. Like, okay, this guy's had a constant uptick in production. This is good. You know, and then in the watch game, we saw him make an interception, which means that he can do it when the lights are on, you know, which would also indicate that I didn't drop him from his initial ratings. So that means he's still good. You know, like there's certain people that I was really hoping were going to show out in some watch games, but they didn't. And that's going to affect them. You know, it won't affect the way I think about them, whether I like them or not, what their stats were, but it's going to affect their ratings. You know what I mean? Because you gotta show up when the scouts are in the building, because that's the thing that MLK was telling me yesterday, that he likes this, and he likes the way that we're doing it right now, because it's like actual scouting. He even really likes the one in the chat thing that Ice Pick made me do.
Yeah.
He says because there should be incentive for people to show up to the stream. He goes, because otherwise nobody is going to show up because they know they can just do it later. But if there's stuff, incentives for people to actually be there live at the stream, because it's almost like, you know, how you supposed to get the points if you didn't send somebody there?
Exactly.
You know, it's the difference between going to a kid's game and watching his scouting tape. You know, so he's like, I like that little added bit of realism. And I was like, you know, I really didn't think about it that way, but he ain't wrong. It's the difference between going to a game, being in the stands at a kid's game, and, you know, just getting his highlight tape. Like, so, I mean, that's it. It's something for me to think about. You know, I'm glad MLK likes it. You know, and MLK is the one person, you know, one of the people other than me that we know what the fuck busy is, guys. Like, you know, like I don't want to say like I'm busy as an excuse, you know, but like to me, it's just a word, man. You know,
Yeah.
like you're not gonna sit here and tell the guy that's been moving boxes and taking trucks back and forth between 2 houses that are 2.5 hours away on the weekends and still getting the streams done when it needs to get done for the most part, other than like 1 or 2 cancellations. Like, I mean, I think I've been pretty consistent for the most part on FGFL while moving things between houses that are 2.5 hours apart from each other, and also coaching my niece in basketball, and also trying to get YouTube videos up with an MLB The Show game that just came out a week ago. And also, you know, like all these things, like I know what busy is. Like I get it. I understand, you know, and all this with a back that had me in the hospital a month ago. So like like I understand, you know, people got things to do, but there's also like a priority list where it's like, you know, there's certain things that I get it. People want to have fun or do things for fun. And people have seen me hanging in VCs playing Pimp Night or doing whatever. You know, that's my little chill out time. But, you know, do you have 4 hours of chill out time, or do you have, you know, half hour of your chill out time and then, you know, an hour to do scouting? Because, like, honestly, if people manage their time better, it would really, especially the people that are skimming through. I know Clover skimmed through a bunch, and you could get all the scouting opportunities within hour and a half, 2 hours if you were just skimming. But you know, go back and get the stats later. I mean, there's strategies and ways to use your time better, and to me, that's what people need to do.
I ain't gonna lie, like I definitely watch like a good amount of the scouting there was like a lot that I had to skim. Like, so, like because at a certain point, I got so far behind. There was only so much I could watch. So I'm a snitch on myself. I skimmed a little. I feel like for the part, I feel like I got what I needed as far as like the guys I was looking for. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody can do a better job of like not doing second. That just
Oh yeah.
it's painful. I feel like the quicker everybody gets it in, myself and quicker we'll get shit back. Guess next question. Or as the college football playoff. I know a few of the teams I think are in it, but as a whole, like remember, I don't think FSU. I might be wrong about that. FSU's
Oh,
not.
they in there.
Okay. Oh, they better not. They better win it this year, bro. Boone better show out. That's all I'm. But so what are the matchups that we're seeing tonight at Versus? I know you're not showing all. It's only 4 games, right? I guess you might.
It's 4 games.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we got is the 12th seeded Nebraska Cornhuskers against the number 5 Michigan Wolverines.
10 matchup.
Then we have the number 9 Utah Utes against the number 8 Navy Midshipmen.
Navy's in there again.
Mm-hmm. Then we got the number 11 Arizona Wildcats against the number 6 Temple Owls.
Get to see Iraq Jenkins and the Temple versus the Temple Legends out here.
And we have the number 10 Fresno State. I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't know what they are. Against the number 7 USC Trojan Condoms.
So we get to see Emmanuel Fields and Iraq Jenkins like right away.
We do get to see them. Manuel Fields, Iraq Jenkins, we get Meffy Williams, we get Tristan Drake, we get we get TS6, we get TS6, we get my man who is totally him, Joe Chafin.
Chafing my balls.
I'm out to... And then as far as the next round, the top 4 seeds that are waiting to find out the winners of today, we have the 4th seeded Oregon Ducks and Seamus
Kramer.
We got the 3rd seeded Texas A&M Aggies.
The Ags.
We got the 2nd seeded Florida State Seminoles.
Whole nation, baby. Let's go.
And we got the number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes.
Buckeyes.
The Buckies.
I can't wait to see how NCAA 14 fucks them over again.
Oh, they don't got... They 2 seasons removed from the boy Cody Hayner. So.
Something, Cody Hayner.
Oh, to deal with stupid play calls.
Right. Good old RPOs and shit.
Doesn't matter if Ohio State or in FGFL play calls.
I mean, at least you're not playing for Miami anymore.
Hey, yo.
Yeah, after they leave and they finally go out and get a real second wide receiver.
Right. Good old Pokey, man. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all the scouting stuff I can really ask about without getting, too...
I mean, you could get a little spicier. Shit.
Oh, something that you made a point about earlier that wasn't mentioned on the podcast, but was mentioned in BC yesterday that I want to bring up.
Go ahead.
Todd Staduka.
What did Todd do?
He asked, so it's the scouting opportunity for Jimmy your thought processes on rating them.
Yeah.
So he's supposed to ask the FG that, and he asked for a guy that I made.
I kind of deduced it in a very similar way because I do. Okay, so I asked FG. Or I'm trying to remember. It was one of your guys asked for his stats, I believe. So that was a big to do. I asked for a stat comparison.
FCS guys ain't got no stats. You weren't the only person who did that to Duca though. There was a bunch of people who did that, and I mean, like when I say a bunch, I mean a bunch of people who did that.
I guess we're also talking CFP. I think I've stated this before, but the FCS National Championship was Sac State, Youngstown State.
Ooh. Sac State's right back in
there. And Sac State won it, so that's the storyline for the FCS.
Sac State out here just dominating. They lost Yuki, they lost Carijo, and they still fucking balling.
Well, that might be why Clark Beaver's in the draft class as a quarterback. And they got 2 wide receivers. Just saying.
And a tight end.
And the tight end as well.
They got some peeps.
Yep.
I will say, one of those wide receivers very, very heavily scouted, just saying. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna snitch on myself. I scouted one. I won't say which one. I scouted one.
Fuck yeah, baby.
I'll put it that way.
I was gonna say, last year they lost in the semis. This year they won it all. That's all I'm saying.
Right. They were a better team this year, low key. Not to take anything away from Yuki or Kari.
But it be like that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, hey, Kaz, you got any natty predictions?
Well, I'm picking FSU. It's going to be FSU versus Ohio State. I think FSU will by 1.
Oh, shit.
At least I'm picking y'all to go ice. I mean, I got to pick my Knowles, though.
Way too much fate.
I got to pick my Knowles at least, you know. I don't know. It really depends on how well Boone plays. And if the defense can play well as well against some of these, like, tougher offenses, like, I feel like FSU definitely. Well, it's not really a gauntlet because they have.
I don't say, when we were going over this forever ago, I remember who won the Natty. I just don't remember who was the runner-up and what happened with all the other games. So.
There's some games where there is gonna be some points, and there are some blowouts. We might actually skip to the end of some of these games since they don't really matter for ratings changes.
Right.
See, last year I did ratings changes based off of the CFP. This year, I'm not going to change any ratings. The draft class is completely finalized. I have given out scouting, so I'm not going to make any changes. So this year, we could skip through some games that are ass. Because obviously that is going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
You're going to get games. Like, I have one score here. I ain't going to lie to you. There's a score that is 31-7. We're not going to have to watch a lot of that. We'll watch it until it gets out of hand, and we'll use our typical sim rules.
Yep, down by 21 first half or down by 17 second half. Simmon.
We'll use our typical sim rules because we don't need to sit through all that. You know what I mean? And then we'll give out the stats and all that. But there's some games that are going to make people want to pull their hair out. I know that already.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Some of them defensive battles people love so much, or hate. But there's 1 or 2 games here that may be the game of the CFP, and a couple of them are going to be really fun to watch, and one of them is absolutely tonight. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, I'm definitely watching the pod. I got to be at work.
Not the worky poo.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's about to be slow as shit today too. I mean, I'll probably pop in during like some downtime, see what happens after that. But it's like I'm excited for the draft, even though I have like 4 picks, because it's like there's always the possibility I can get more picks. I have so many players on the team that might not fit what I do next year. Like I could definitely trade back. It's just kind of mental.
What I'm saying though. Like, the off season is everybody's chance to completely reform the team if you don't like the way it's going. And some people, I feel like they need to do that. Some people need to blow it up.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna.
I'm not saying that to you.
I know. I'm just saying I don't know if personally. I don't think I have to personally blow up anything because, especially my defense is so young. But it's like might be time for me to do something out of the old.
And I think your defense is the reason why you get wins. You might have to transform that offense, though.
I mean, I might have to start with our. So like, Henry might have to go.
Look at how quickly me and CJ turned around the Lions.
Right.
I mean, hey, sometimes you just look at Derek. It took him so long to admit that Chris Mayhew was not a starting quarterback in this league. Like, those decisions need to be made just a little quicker. Otherwise you setting yourself back seasons in FGFL.
Yeah.
So,
and I think
Henry's one of those guys. Like, he's worth keeping. He's a solid backup.
Yeah.
He's a solid backup spot starter if need be. Like Hobie's little strategy of having 2 guys who can start because one of them only plays a quarter of the season is that's the way it was designed. Hobie just thought that he could press his luck and not get the injury bug, but it was always designed for Dexter Moss to get hurt because it's all we saw him do in college.
Literally, he played like half of his first season at FSU. Like, he got hurt literally in the playoff game. Didn't he get hurt in the national championship too?
Yes, he did.
So it's like, I mean, and it's like I was a big fan of Dex outside of the fact that he couldn't stay healthy. Like, if I was going,
I made him that kind of player where he is really good. The question is, for how many games is he going
to be able to stay healthy? Like it's giving our RG3 right now. Like, it's actually giving RG3. Phenomenal rookie season. Losing the out wasn't the same. Seems like Dex is going the same. Like, it's just going in the same direction. Can't stay healthy. Gonna be a good quarterback
with the play style of Josh Allen.
Yep.
Monster rocket arm, big dude, can run.
Like, I still feel like my actual favorite quarterback out of the draft class this past year was Colorado. Like, everybody wanted to call him a running back and shit. He's throwing the ball pretty fucking.
I still think my funniest Dexter Moss story is the fact that the first time I tried to transfer over the draft class, I granted I did to Duke a couple of things during the process, and one of the dudes over there in the Discord had to help me out with it. But the very first transfer over of the draft class that Dexter Moss was in that I did, man's had 120 something throw power.
God damn.
Which I told the guy, I'm like, I didn't even know this was possible. He's like, yeah, it does that when certain guys are like, 99 in the game. And I was like, yeah, there ain't many people with 99 throw power in the NCAA game, but he was one of them. And so he's got that absolute fucking cannon attached to his right shoulder. So,
well, for Hobie's sake,
story to me. It's just that we're not seeing him, enough. But it is what it is. That's how it was designed.
Well, hopefully for Hobie's sake, he can stay healthy. Not in my division, on my conference, I don't got to worry about him. Bonds is the only one I really got to get after. Division, but I feel like Bonds will end up being. Well, I just think Nick has to a little bit add some more weapons. They build up that O-line, and I feel like he has his running back, thanks to me. He has good quarterback. He has to build everything else. So That's what I'm saying. I feel like Nick will make a jump next year. I will too. Octi and C-Milk, they would, not doing all their stuff.
I mean, it's funny you say that because while I definitely agree with what you're saying, I also feel like Nick doesn't pay all that much attention. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I don't say.
Like
female definitely did more than I think. I don't know about paying much attention to what if Nick said anything in, but I think female may have done more than both of them.
I don't know. Like it pisses me the fuck off that I am by and large like probably one of the people who does like the most as far as like paying attention to the league, like doing scouting and shit. And like I'm like definitely one of the top ones in the league, let alone my division, and especially my division. And yet I'm still like in last place, so it's like it's kind of frustrating to see these motherfuckers like not do anything. And then Octi's 9-3, C-Mill's 8-4, Nick is a game above me. Like, I mean, that's Madden for you. At the end of the day, like I feel like it's one of those things that will come out in the wall. So I'm not too concerned about it. I gotta find my franchise quarterback because I don't know if Art Henry is not.
I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, I feel like the difference between you and C-Mill or Octi right now, not so much Nick, but like the difference between you and C-Mill or Octi is the fact that they have quarterbacks that, whether they're consistent or not in watched is a different thing, but they're consistent enough in sim to carry them.
Yep.
And they have, they not even arguably at this point, they have their franchise quarterbacks in the building.
Yep.
And I really think that that's the true difference is that, when you beat them in watch is because your defense actually gets the job done.
Yep.
Like your defense will hold them back and make Bryce Young play like the shitty Bryce Young and make Jalen Hurts play like the bad version of Jalen Hurts we've seen a couple of times, and I feel like sometimes, Art Henry is not bad in watch particularly, but he's not the kind of guy that's going to take your offense over the top.
He's not a needle.
Exactly. That's the thing. He's basically what everyone says Tua is.
Yep.
Like, the guy with the little arm that's not really going to take your team over the top or, give your team that little bit of extra that it needs. So, yeah, your search to bring the franchise quarterback in the building is probably a smart one.
Yep. And I'll put this out here, y'all. Probably on the trade block after. Any of you guys who are looking for quarterbacks, if you feel like y'all can get more out of Art Henry, because I mean, look at what Cassius Shearhart did last year after he leaving Jags, and he was just so well. I mean, obviously he was on the Dolphins at Jags, and he would Jets, and he played so much better with the Jets. So it's like, I think Pride has shown, like, as much as people have criticized Pride, myself included, Pride at least got the most out of Shearhart. I mean, he's not really doing shit this year, but last year he played like up to his potential. I'm just saying that there could be some way to get like Art Henry's full potential out of him. I don't know if I'm going to spend another season trying to figure that out or not, because I feel like the window for me to be a contender is starting to close up a little. I mean, because Roquan's ain't getting any younger. Good offensive linemen I have aren't getting any. And I'm probably losing Jesse Bates in the offseason. We'll have to see. So I'm going to have to figure something out like very soon. That being said, I guess we'll close this one out by asking both of y'all an FGFL question. So we have 5 weeks left up. Playoff situation pretty crystal clear aspects. Not really for either one of your teams. Definitely for my team. My team's probably not going to the playoffs, but it seems like we know who like our top dogs are going to be in the AFC, and obviously in the AFC you have the Broncos at 11. You have the Browns at 9-3. You have Bills and Colts both at 8-4. The Colts are actually going through head coaching came up yesterday. Obviously for those guys who didn't hear, SG had to step down due to personal reasons. I've spoken to SG over the past couple of weeks, and it's not my business out there. All I can say, hope SG is able to just get in a better headspace, more or less. And yeah, like those are like your top four. I genuinely have faith that Faye will do a good job of the goal. They're relatively new to football, so they're kind of in the same boat as Q, I would say. But I've talked football with Faye so many times, and I feel like they know for the most part what they're doing. They seem to be very interested in being a coach in the FGFL, obviously. So I have a lot of faith in Faye. Definitely a lot of faith in Faye. And in the NFC, obviously, we have Bears, Vikings, and Lions in an absolute dogfight in that division. Bucks are running away with the NFC South. I mean, we thought I personally thought the Falcons might be able to contend with it, but nah. Bucks are just running away with it. Literally have a 3-way tie in the East with them boys, Commies, and the Gigantes. And then in the NFC West, we have and the Niners up there. So, just coming straight out. FG and Ice, what are your FGFL Bowl predictions? Yeah, we going full Monty with it.
That is tough. I feel like the Bears are going back. I know our good buddy Crack is all like,
oh, we're rebuilding.
We're rebuilding, we're retooling, we're re-banging ourselves. I don't know. Like, I feel like this man is smoke screening the fuck out of it. But every time we watch this team, they seem to have that little bit of jet magic. I don't know what it is, but every time we get this team in a watch game, chances are there for good things to happen.
Yep.
So it's hard for me to bet against the champ. So I kind of feel like they're going to end up back there. I don't know that they're going to win it again, but I feel like they could work their way through the NFC. I feel like something is constantly missing from Minnesota.
Yep.
As much as I like them, there tends to be just a piece here or there missing every season. I feel like Octi's team is really good for the most part, especially in sim. When you get in watch games, it's very, very inconsistent, and I feel like every once in a while they definitely throw a stinker of a watch game at you. And when you do that in the playoffs, you're in trouble. I will say probably my dark horse in the entire NFC is the Niners.
Yeah.
Just because they seem to be doing exactly what they did year number one. Kind of flying a little bit under the radar, playing really good defense, and getting just enough to happen on offense to make one last run with the core that they have, because guys like Mike Evans are 82 overall, 30-some-odd-year-old guys that are just declining at this point. So this might be their last chance. So I would say that the Niners are probably the dark horse. The Bears are my favorite, and the Buccaneers would probably be second fiddle. I don't know. It's to me, the Bucks have been the ultimate sim team.
Yeah.
But for some reason in watched, that defense plays like boo boo. So it's probably because they don't have Travis Rawlings, but that's neither here nor there. in the AFC, it's hard, man. Like, I don't know because they're all so like weird and watched. I feel like the best watched team out of all the AFC teams this year, in my opinion, like I know Denver's won the games. It hasn't really looked pretty for them.
Yeah.
Has been Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Like Miami going toe to toe with Buffalo. Cool. Miami winning games early in the season and watched against good teams was a shocker.
Right. Didn't they? Were they the one who beat Denver? By the way, I'm pretty sure. If I remember, I have to look that up real quick. Either they beat
the season, so I can look real quick.
Even if they didn't beat Denver, it was a very close.
Yeah, they beat Denver in the watch game.
Yeah, so they're literally the Broncos' only loss so far.
Yeah, it was 20-17 in week 2.
Yep, and it was in a watch game, which again, to me, Miami's been impressive in those watch games. But again, it's really hard to go against the Bills. It really is. But I would probably say that Denver could get their revenge if they were to play Miami again.
Yeah.
And in order for them to play Miami again, like, so the way the playoffs is setting up right now, Miami would play the Bills round 1, which would be another epic game, right? I think the winner of that game might be pretty likely to play the Broncos right away because, like, the Browns are the 2 seed.
Yep.
So, like, if Miami wins, they're almost automatically could play the Broncos if the Bengals don't beat the Browns. If Miami ends up losing that game and the Browns end up losing to the Bengals, you could see Broncos Bills. So like there's a chance that the winner of that game plays the Broncos. At which point, to me, that's basically the AFC title game.
Yeah.
Like I think it's one of those 3 teams realistically. But then again, I don't really want to count the Browns out, but you never know. Watch Lamar is like watch Bryce Young.
Exactly.
It's either really good or it's really bad.
I was going to say there's one more team you haven't mentioned in the AFC that's really good also.
The Conquistadors?
Conquistadors.
Yes.
I mean, see, I think what holds me back from the Conquistadors is the inconsistency of Josh Allen. We saw them rip the Vikings. We watched them rip the Vikings. But then we also saw in a witching hour how they couldn't pull it out against Eli Bradley and the Chargers. So, and then, you know, it's hard for me with them because they are literally the Forrest Gump team. They're the box of chocolates that you just don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
And I think to me, they're my dark horse. Like, I think it's any one of Broncos, Bills, Dolphins, and the Raiders would be the dark horse because if they play the way they are capable of playing, then they can beat anyone. But it's just, are you going to get that from them is the main question. And you never know when you boot this game up what you're going to get. So,
exactly.
So I would say it's going to be one of Bucks, Bears, and Niners against one of Broncos, Bills, Dolphins, Raiders. Those are probably the 7 teams I think have the best chance. But if I'm gun to my head have to pick, I would probably say Broncos over Bears.
Yes.
When all is said and done.
I think for me, NFC wise, I could definitely see Bears going. I'd probably have to say the Bucks though. I feel like this is the year they actually get. I mean, they're 11-1. We haven't gotten to watch them a whole lot, so it's kind of a scary pick because like we really haven't gotten to watch Tampa, if at all, just Their division's so bad. They haven't had like too many marquee matchups. Like they've had a few here and there, but it's like we have watched them. They've been really good, but it's at the same time we haven't seen enough out of them. Like whereas we've seen a lot out of like the Bears, we've seen a good amount out of the Vikings. We've seen the Seahawks. I mean, I would pick the Seahawks except for the fact that literally watching us play them, I'm just like, you know what? The Seahawks just shoot themselves in the foot way too damn. Now, granted, they shot themselves in the foot a ton, nearly came back and won the game, but it's like if you're falling behind to a team that like doesn't have a good offense like that, and you give up 34 points to us, you're not long to like have very much playoff success. So I would say NFC Championship game will probably be, I would say, Bucks versus Bears. I think the Bucks would probably get the better end of that game this year. I won't sleep on the Bears at all, but I think the Bucks are going to go to NFC or AFC. Actually, it's going to shock some people. I'm actually going to pick the Brownies to go. I'm actually going to go with my boy, the Duke Jack. See that boy shock the world. Although I wouldn't be shocked if we get like the Bowl between him and Pokemon and the AFC Championship game. Because again, the Dolphins have been really good to watch too. Get some Delgado versus Lamar in the battle of the quote unquote running backs. The Duke Bowl for the AFC Championship game. I ain't gonna be too mad at that. I mean, and that's not to sleep on the Broncos or the Bills, but obviously the Dolphins beat the Broncos head to head. The Dolphins hung in there with the Bills. We've seen the Bills have some absolute stinkers. Like they, especially week 1, Patriots. Like, the Bills are not as like, they're definitely not. And then literally in sim, they lost to the Saints too. So it's like the Bills are not as like impeccable and like they're not as like good as everybody thought they were going to be. They're still a great team, but like, you know, I'm not sure that the Bills are really like them. So I could see Miami fucking around, like picking up that division. I know Alpo's gonna hate saying that, but I don't see it with Buffalo this year the way I see it with like Denver or even. I'm gonna say, but just like to be on the safe side, I'm gonna go Broncos Browns in the AFC Championship game, and I'm gonna have the Broncos current 1 seeds head to head. I'm gonna go with the Broncos when Broncos. Ice, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm definitely leaning Bucks in the NFC right now, but like I said, that AFC is wild at the moment.
Such a mix.
Yeah. But like I said, you guys are going Broncos, but I don't trust their quarterback in watched in
It's
big
hard to
games.
trust. I don't blame you. It's hard to trust Tyrell.
Yeah, and it's hard to trust Trevor Lawrence also.
Yeah.
I mean, he got it there last year. He just didn't turn around and fumbled the bag in the actual bowl.
Yep.
That's why I said I think the Raiders are the dark horse.
Yeah.
Go because I said, but then Allen's inconsistent. But
I think if I had to pick a dark horse or both conferences, I would say for the NFC. Oh, them Giants. I think the Giants are definitely dark horse NFC. If Pineapple Pete can get his shit together, I think this team could like make some waves if they fuck around and win the. But I don't know. I don't think the commies will, and that's not because I doubt RSV, but it's like because I don't really know how I feel about Stevie for starter at this point. I think he probably should have just wrote out the rest of this. Something more, just see get his shit, but I don't know. And
fucking Just to be different, I'm going Bucks Browns with the Bucks winning.
Ooh. I can see it happening. I can definitely see the Bucks like finally getting their shit together. I'm not gonna sleep on the Seahawks. And I will say, I think my AFC record, it's gonna be between the Chiefs and either the Jags or Bengals there as well. We've seen the Bengals play really well, and we haven't seen them a ton. But it's like they definitely have the ability to do it. If Loudermilk plays up to the standard that everybody believes play up to, I think the Jags could definitely shock some people. And if Eagles fan Jr. can just go on a run of just like not turning the ball over, not playing like dog shit, this Chiefs team can beat very many teams like in the AFC.
Kind of a tall order, though.
I know, definitely a tall order, but you know he made it. I mean, Todd made it to an FGFL Bowl with Lamar. Not that Lamar is worse. Like Lamar is definitely not worse than Eagles. Possible. It's definitely. I'm just saying it is possible for a quarterback to like just go on a streak of like just playing well to watch, but that's gonna have to be games if they even get to the playoffs. Because right now the Chiefs are on the outside. Looks like them and the Jags are like right outside.
Yep. Just like them Gigantes.
Yeah.
Trying though.
I'd say both you guys and the Cowboys are definitely doing well because that 11th type of step, baby. He got them Cowboys looking good after
Them
the first
girls,
year.
I mean,
The first year of Mr. Rob stealing Carlo Ambrosetti from me and not doing the game, and Justin basically had to like take over the last year that was like really not built to do anything. And he was able to get Justin Case. You know, Justin Case forced his way out of Cleveland, which I don't blame Rocky for. I don't blame Rocky on like one end because you know obviously Rocky maybe doesn't pay as much attention as other people, but at the same time, if I were hypothetically a player and the Jaguars coach, like, let's say, I mean, if it was somebody I didn't know, like, like I didn't know Troy, I was a quarterback for the Jags, I'd probably request a trade too. So, but, and at any rate, just in case, I think is an upgrade over Lamar at this point. They have great receiving core over there, so Dallas could definitely get the job done. It's just like the commies, I'm not. See. All right. Well, any parting thoughts for either one of y'all? I think I'm gonna end it now because I have to get ready for work soon. FG, any last thoughts or anything you want to say or do about scouting before we get to the CFP?
Do it.
Yes.
Use the opportunity and do the scouting, or I would say reap the benefits, but there's no benefits of not doing it. So accept the consequences.
Exactly.
Y'all want to know why your teams aren't doing as good as you want them to? Because you ain't putting in that work.
Exactly.
So put that work in.
I know you didn't get to say a whole lot, but it's like, do you have any like last words as far as like the draft class or anything goes?
Talk your shit, Ice.
I'm excited to see what happens. Hopefully, people don't sleep with my guys again.
That'd be a mistake.
I hope they do, so the people that don't reap the benefits.
Exactly.
There's benefits.
Exactly. Well, FG and Ice, thank you guys so much for taking the time out. I know I had to push this back a little bit, but always great having both of y'all on for sure. And I'm excited to get my team's not going to the playoffs, so I'm excited to get to the draft. I'm like, especially with some of the stuff I got, excited. I have a feeling like some of the people I looked at are going to fall to the second round, or I might be able to trade up for stuff to see. Thank you guys so much, always.
Hey, it was a blast. And you know what? In the future, maybe we can have some actual scouting leaks happen right here on this very podcast.
Yeah.
If we ever do move into the thing where I simulate the season and we do that other plan, there may be some stat leaks or something on the podcast next time.
Well, if I'll see him with pen and paper. Well, y'all know what time it is. Yeah, thank you guys so much, and thank you all for watching this episode. Hopefully you guys watch this episode. And you're probably gonna miss out on valuable information. It's not like you're not getting scouting opportunities like that in here, but it's like at the same time you're getting information that could help you for the draft. So hope you guys are watching this, but if not, that's your loss. But make sure you guys subscribe to the FGFL channel. Make sure you guys subscribe to FG's main channel where he has the New York Mets franchise going right now. Up to my channel as well. I have a couple of channels, obviously, that I'm posting to. My main channel, I'm doing some retro stuff currently, just getting ready for the new college football game to come out. And my second Let's Play channel, I'm doing Hardcore Nuzlocke. I actually have a Pokemon Emerald Hardcore Nuzlocke coming out in the next week. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that video. And then I actually have another channel where I'm doing baseball. I'm doing a Kansas City Royals franchise. So go find that if you want to go watch that, I guess. But anyways, thank you guys so much for coming through another episode of Spilled Kool-Aid. If you guys want to be on the show, DM me. I have spots open. Till then, you guys have yourselves a great rest of your day, night, or whatever you're watching this. Like I always say, no matter what happens, keep that mofo rolling. Love y'all 3,000. I'll do 5,000. Stay hard out there. And deuces.